In this video, we're going to be looking at the language of sequences and series. So what are sequences and series? Well, a sequence is an ordered set of terms with a well-defined rule for generating the terms. For example, here we have a simple sequence with the rule start at 1 and add 2 to get each subsequent term, the terms being the numbers in the sequence. And sequences can be infinite or finite. So this is an infinite sequence, but we could turn it into a finite sequence by adding some final term, say for example 127. And the notation u sub n means the nth term, where n is the position. So for example, 1 is the first term, u sub 1, 3 is the second term, and 5 is the third term, u sub 3, and so on. The nth term formula gives you the term in terms of n. In other words, you can get to any term in the sequence only by knowing its position in the sequence. So for example, here the nth term formula is 2n minus 1. And the advantage of this is if we wanted, say, the 20th term, we could write out all the terms until we get to the 20th term, but that's quite time consuming. Instead, we can just substitute n is 20 into the nth term formula and it gives us the 20th term directly. And obviously, if you wanted to find the 100th term or the 2353rd term, you can see how this becomes more and more useful. Now, the difference between a sequence and a series is that a series is the sum of the terms in a sequence. So if I wanted to turn this sequence into a series, I simply put addition signs between the terms. So S sub n means the sum of the first n terms. So S sub 4 means the sum of the first 4 terms, which in this case would be 16. So let's have a look at a worked example. Pause the video and read it through. Starting with A, to find the first 3 terms, we simply substitute n equals 1, n equals 2, and n equals 3 into the nth term formula. So that gives us that the first term is 5.5, the second term is 5.25, and the third term is 5 1/6, which we could leave as a mixed number, or you could write it as 5.16 with the 6 recurring, as I have here, or you could round it to 5.17, but do remember that in IB exams you must round to at least 3 significant figures. And it's probably worth writing down those 3 terms as your final answer on one line. Then on to B, the value of the sum of the first 3 terms, you simply add the 3 terms that you found in part A. And that gives us 15.9, again to 3 significant figures. And then part C, to find the 20th term, simply substitute n equals 20 into the nth term formula. And that gives us 5 1/40, or if you want to write it as a decimal, 5.025. Notice in this case it's not appropriate to round it to 5.03 because this is 5.025 is an exact answer. It doesn't need rounding. And in summary, a sequence is an ordered set of terms with a well-defined rule for getting the terms. U sub n is the notation for the nth term. So u sub 1 is the first term, u sub 2 the second term, and so on. An nth term formula defines a term using only n, its position in the sequence. And a series is the sum of the terms in a sequence, with S sub n being the notation for the sum of the first n terms. Don't forget to check out all our other fantastic revision resources here at Save My Exams.